Today's topic is how to become a caregiver for a family member. There are so many different types of caregivers. Some of us fall into it due to circumstances that are out of our control. A parent may abuse drugs and the children become a parent to their parent. Or the family receives a devastating diagnosis and requires the children to help take care of them. Some become caregivers simply because of their birth order. The eldest daughter or son is often expected to help with other siblings, and then the elderly family members. Some become caregivers because of cultural expectation, and still others become caregivers because another family member is born with a disability or chronic illness. I personally became a caregiver for a family member in my teens. Actually, it was my mom, and I'm the oldest of four, so I helped my mother with my younger siblings, and I started babysitting for neighbors at an early age. My grandmother came to our house to recover from a broken hip when I was about 15. It was then that I learned about helping to bathe and even how to put her on a bedpan. She had a spica cast on, which means she had actually cast with a rod between her legs to keep her legs apart. It was very challenging. And that was in the 60s. The summer of my junior year, my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer. My mother was recovering from gallbladder surgery when the chest x-ray shows some spots on her lungs. The irony here is my mom never smoked. She did grow up, however, living above the family-owned dry cleaners. The exposure to those chemicals most likely contributed to her cancer diagnosis. My mom's diagnosis forever changed my life. The treatment back then was cobalt treatments, and that's a radiation treatment. During this time, I became my mom's caregiver. I became the mother to my siblings, the person responsible for running the household. After all, I had two younger brothers and a little sister. I felt at the time that I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. Years before my mother's diagnosis, I had an elderly neighbor that was declining. She had moved into her son's home, and the son and his wife both worked outside the home. So I spent a few summers being a companion to an elderly neighbor. I would get up early, walk down the street, and start my day by making her breakfast. We would spend the day sitting outside on the porch or watching her favorite daytime soap operas. So when I'm asked, how do you become a caregiver to a family member? I have learned that many ask that question just don't see the things that they are doing as traits of a caregiver. I never identified it as a caregiver. I just thought what I did was expected, that it was just a natural way to support my family members and community. Rosalind Carter, one of our first ladies, once said, "There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver." So when I'm asked about how to become a family caregiver, I explain to my clients it's only a matter of time. Caregiver is such a general term, and it refers to anyone who provides care for a person who needs extra help. We are facing a global caregiver crisis. Because of global low birth rates, we are facing a situation of having more seniors than youth for the first time ever in the world. We are living so much longer, but not necessarily healthier. At the present time, we have over 57 million unpaid family caregivers providing on average 20 hours of help to a family member, a neighbor, a friend, or a chosen family. The unpaid family caregiver is the single largest pillar of the long-term care system. That includes children providing care for a parent and siblings to the adult child that is working and helping support an aging parent. We also have a second crisis that's going to impact family caregivers. Let me share some statistics with you. We have a shortage of direct care workers. The low reimbursement rates by Medicare and Medicaid system has 1 in 6 direct care workers living at poverty level, and that's of 2022. Most direct care workers work more than one job. The other issue we are facing is the cost of unskilled care. This is care that we pay out of our pocket for privately, meaning the cost comes out of the pocket of the aging senior or their family member. With this crisis coming to a head, we as a country need to get creative on how we support the aging population. With the statistics already so grim, we need to change how we provide care for a family member. In 2022, 1 in 5 people are caring for another person. The rising demand and shrinking families will increasingly strain the family caregiver. And trust me, public policy has not kept up with the changing long-term care dynamics. We can no longer allow the caring of our aging to be just a family issue. The government's ignored this for years, decades. According to AARP, by 2030, we will need 1 million more direct care workers just to meet the demands of the aging population. In 2010, there were 7.1 caregivers for every person over the age of 80 years old. By 2030, there's only going to be 4.1 caregivers for every person over the age of 80. It is because of this pending crisis, the concept of care team partners was created to address this issue. It is a meaningful solution to providing support. I'm going to discuss why good teamwork is so important to being a caregiver as we face this crisis. A small statistic, a very important statistic, is at the present time, the family caregiver provides over $470 billion a year in unpaid care services. Individuals that are already caregivers but don't identify strongly are millennials. This is a group born between 1982 and 2000. One in 4 millennials are already providing health to another, but do not identify as a caregiver. 40% of the male population provides care and does not identify as a caregiver. And there are 40% of the diverse cultural communities in our country that also provide support for another and do not identify as a caregiver. I know you're asking, why are these statistics important? Well, when I first started my site back in 20 years ago, I was shocked to learn that 50% of family caregivers become seriously ill or die before the person they are caring for dies. Here I am in 2020, and that statistic has jumped to an alarming 63%. The stress and burden of caregiving kills. The way we perceive the duties of a family caregiver and acknowledge the contribution they are making. The first step is to encouraging those providing care for another to identify as a caregiver. I know it seems silly. I know. The next step in this process is to change the way we provide that care. As I said earlier, I'm going to discuss why good teamwork is so important to being a caregiver as we face this impending crisis. Caregiving is intermittent, unpredictable, and very isolating. Many caregivers are working full-time. Some have left their jobs to provide care for a family member. Most are taking care of 2 households. We cannot expect the government to provide care for our family members. There's a certain amount of budget. When we run out of the budget, everything falls apart. So we also have to accept that if we do not change our own attitudes of being a caregiver and not learning how to ask or accept help, the statistics for the family caregiver are going to continue to creep up. I always end my podcast with this statement. If you're a family caregiver, you are the most important part of the caregiving equation. Without you, it all falls apart. So practice self-care every day. Learn to be gentle with yourself because you are worth it. Every single year, I lose 2 or 3 family caregivers to serious illness or death. The consequences are devastating. Everything they work so hard for it and have done to keep their family member at home is completely undone. Many care recipients, the aging seniors or disabled adults, end up in an alternative care setting, such as an assisted living or nursing home or even a group home. I want to share one of my stories of a family caregiver that broke my heart. I have a lot of them, but this one really stood out to me to share with you today. Keith was a gay man that took care of many of his family members. He spent decades taking care of his parents. When he started out, it was just the occasional visits to check on them. As their needs increased, he increased his level of his support for them. Then Keith's dad died suddenly, and he moved into his parents' home to provide care for his mother. Keith's dad had been her primary caregiver with Keith's support for about 10 years. Keith's mother had a slow progression of dementia with some other medical conditions. She became bedbound for the most part. Now, when I say bedbound, she had to get up and be in a wheelchair or in a chair with assistance. You don't leave somebody stay in bed. I'm sorry. You just don't do that. It's not acceptable. But Keith struggled to take care of his mom as the demands became beyond humanly possible. There came a time that Keith put his mom on hospice. While he loved his mother, he had some relief knowing that his caregiving journey was coming to an end. And that happens. I mean, I can't tell you how many caregivers feel like guilty because they just want it to be over so that their pain will end, not their family member's pain. It's a normal feeling. Don't feel guilty about it. While on hospice, Keith's mom actually rallied, and they were actually talking about taking her off hospice. Wow, was this hard for Keith to accept? His mom kept expressing she just wanted to die, as so many seniors do. And Keith selfishly wanted her time to come. Keith came to believe that if he gave his mother the okay to let go, she would pass peacefully in her sleep. I'll never forget the phone call I had with Keith. He told me he was giving his mom permission to leave him, that she could go on to the next life, and her husband and their pets were waiting for her. Keith was a caregiver at the end of his ropes. Years of caring for another and putting aside his own needs, along with the stress and burden of caregiving, was having a negative impact on his mental and physical well-being. One morning, while providing care to his mother, Keith had a major cardiac event and was admitted to CCU. He never came out of the hospital. His mother ended up in a hospice unit. She passed several months after Keith's death. I have so many stories like that. They are heartbreaking, but they are preventable. We as a society need to focus on how to support the family caregiver as we face the impending crisis in the next few years. We need to address the complexity of caregiving with the growing aging population. We have more and more family caregivers in the paid workforce. There will be a mass exodus of productive workers as the family caregivers leave the workforce to provide care for their family. The economic impact will devastate the economy and financially impact the family caregiver. The increasing amount of medical and nursing responsibilities expected to perform by the family caregiver is just overwhelming. Most have no medical knowledge at all. Most are surprised to learn how limiting Medicare is on benefits. And with the aging population, Medicare is already starting to ration our other healthcare benefits. Many years ago, Hillary Clinton wrote a book, It Takes a Village. Of course, it was to make the point that our children need community support to raise healthy and happy children. That is now the attitude we need to develop for the family caregiver. That is why the care team partner concept needs to be strongly considered and embraced. I have written a book on how to become a patient care advocate. In that book, I address how to build a care team partner group. When I was asked the question, how do you become a family caregiver? I want to help guide you, support you, and make sure you have the best possible caregiving experience. There are so many challenges and obstacles you will face. The first step is to acknowledge you are a caregiver. The next step to do is to research and become educated on the medical conditions of your family member. You will have so many unexpected challenges and obstacles. Learn about how to build a care team partner group to support you on your caregiving journey. As we move towards the impending crisis, we must change how we view the family caregiver. We, as a society, must step up and create a sense of volunteerism to support the caregivers and the aging population. To my caregivers out there, I really encourage you, learn to ask for help. Practice self-care every day. Be gentle with yourself and proudly acknowledge you are a caregiver. I'm Diane Carbo, RN with CaregiverRelief.com.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Caregiver Relief. If you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions for future videos, topics you'd like us to cover, or even improvements you'd like to see on the channel, drop them in the comments below.